are hybrid with an in-person event at the UN office at Geneva. Um, the UN schedules side events from the beginning to the end of the hour, or schedules the space. And so the prior event in the room by the government of Portugal is probably just ending. And so our people in person, which includes Father Alejo, will have to first go in and set up a laptop on Zoom and with the room's projector, and hopefully this will just take a few minutes. But none of us, at least I and they in the room, have not done that before. So it may take a few minutes after 9 before we can actively start the program. Hopefully not very long, and we will be finishing both the in-person and online program sharply 1 hour from now, in accordance with the rules here at the Human Rights Council for side events. Okay, yeah. So thank you again for being here, and we should be able to start hopefully in just a few minutes. But for right now, we are waiting on the setup process in person.
Yes. So,
Okay. Hi, in the in-person meeting room right now, they are trying to get the Zoom projecting in the room for people, and hope in just 1 or 2 minutes that will be ready. And we've had a question from media. I'm not sure if that person's here or not, but yes, there will be a recording available afterwards. So sorry for the delay, but it's things are scheduled with very tight timing in the UN meeting room. So it was not possible to do the technical setup prior to the scheduled start time.
Hey, Dave. Good afternoon.
Hi.
Eric here. I'm on just on audio.
Okay, so the sorry, who was that? This is Father Alejo. Sorry, who was that? Who was on
Oh,
audio?
that was Eric with Chica. Hey, Dave, that was Eric. That's me.
Oh, okay. Oh, hi, Eric. So we're there just getting the setup working in the UN meeting room.
Okay.
So.
Hey, Dave.
Yep.
Yeah, what are we waiting? Did the Philippine government have representatives there in Geneva?
I don't know yet. It's
Hmm.
I'm guessing they will, but
Okay.
I'm not in the room, so
Okay.
we'll find out. Okay, there's Father Albert. So are we ready to go?
Yeah. But,
Okay. Great. So thank you everyone for joining us. Request people be muted for now. We will. Okay. Thank you for joining us today in person and online. Thank you. A special thanks to our in-person speakers, Vicente De Lima II, the youngest brother of Senator Leila de Lima, and Father Albert Alejo, one of the foremost human rights advocates from the Philippines, currently based in Rome, and especially to Senator Risa Hontiveros, who has provided a pre-recorded video. Before I play that, this is our first side event at the Human Rights Council, but it's part of a series of events at UN headquarters in Vienna and New York, as well as the Assembly of States Parties for the International Criminal Court. And our first took place in March 2017, just a few weeks from when Senator Leila de Lima first reported to jail in Camp Crame. The event included a video from the now former Vice President of the Philippines, Leni Robredo, which criticized President Duterte's drug war, and for which allies of the president used to then attack her, in fact, sparking a weeks-long and vigorous, but ultimately unsuccessful impeachment trial. This event was just one of what is a lengthy series of attacks on the opposition in the Philippines and on any critic of the Duterte government. Speakers today may comment on the Marcos administration. I'm not prepared to yet in general. But the most serious of these attacks, at least the most serious, making use of the formal legal system, is the imprisonment of Leila de Lima. But our other speakers today have also been targets, and we will hear more about that now from Senator Hontiveros. And I'm just operating the share screen. So is the video appearing on the Zoom for everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Wait, sorry, do I need to, did you hear anything just now, or I have to do an audio setting? Leonardo, do you know how to do the enable audio on screen share? Wait, I remember.
You have to share the sound.
Yes. Leonardo, do you know how to share the sounds? I've done this before. I think that was Jean. Do you know where the sound share control is? Oh, I see. I have it. Yes, I have it. Okay. Okay. If you don't hear this, let me know.
A pleasant afternoon to you all. Thank you very much to the UN Human Rights Council for giving me the time and space to talk about the continuing difficulties we face as human rights advocates here in the Philippines. Unfortunately, not much has changed. Yes, we have a new administration, but we have yet to see positive developments vis-a-vis the human rights issues that we have long fought against in the previous administration. one of which, of course, is the continuing detention of former Senator Leila de Lima. It is an abomination for her to still be behind bars for 5 years now. It is especially absurd that she is still in detention when there have been 3 recantations of witness testimonies that were allegedly crucial in the charges against her. In fact, one of the witnesses said that he made the allegations against Leila because he was coerced by former Department of Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre. Another witness said that the police threatened him and his family if he didn't implicate Leila in the illegal drug trade during the investigation. Now that these testimonies have been disputed by the very people who gave them, it is only right and just that the government drop charges against Leila. She should be released from police custody. She should be given justice. She should be free. Leila has been deprived of her basic rights and civil liberties only because she fiercely went after Duterte's murderous drug war, provoking the ire of the former president. While government data would show that around 6,000 individuals have been killed in police anti-drug operations from 2016 to 2022, human rights groups have estimated them to be between 27,000 to 30,000. One of the casualties of this was 17-year-old Kian de los Santos, who died in 2017, shot to death by police officers during a so-called anti-drug operation in Caloocan City. Please stop. I still have an exam tomorrow. These were Kian's final words. When I visited the wake of Kian, his family and the families of the witnesses requested for protection. Naturally, my office, with the help of the Bishop of Caloocan, extended protective custody to the family and the 3 witnesses, 2 of whom were minors, key witnesses to the Senate investigation on Kian's death. However, in what seemed like a move to undermine the case and limit accountability on the part of the police, the Department of Justice sought to take custody of the witnesses. It was dubious, and our suspicions were correct. During one of the hearings on Kian's case, a photographer inadvertently captured a text exchange between Duterte Allied Representative Jing Paras and then DOJ Secretary Aguirre, stating that they should be expediting cases against me. This was clearly unethical, so unbecoming of a member of the civil service. That being the case, I gave a privileged speech about Aguirre's scheme, showing the image that had been forwarded by the photographer. The next thing I knew, I was facing charges of wiretapping, kidnapping, and failure to return a minor, and obstruction of justice, filed separately in 2017 by Aguirre and Paras. And only last year, the case, baseless and worthless as it is, was suddenly revived by Aguirre. During the height of a Senate inquiry in which I actively participated into a multi-billion peso scandal about overpriced medical supplies that had implicated Duterte's allies, the Metropolitan Trial Court released an arrest order against me. I had to post bail. Bear in mind that this happened a few months before the start of the official campaign for the 2022 national elections. How convenient. It was a sinister move that only supported the impression that cases are being filed against members of the opposition in order to silence or harass us and perhaps eventually drive us to extinction. Fortunately, I am still here. I still have 6 more years to go. I will uphold my duty to be a responsible oppositionist and a conscientious fiscalizer in the Senate. The midterm elections are happening in 2025, and I fervently intend that we will add more opposition members in the Senate. Recently, I've often been tagged as the lone opposition, but I know that I am not alone, that the opposition is larger than myself, that the Senate is not the only arena in which we will fight for causes dear to us. There are movements, organizations, communities such as yourselves who will continue to help provide checks and balances. And I will continue to count on that. I will continue to work with you to ensure that we live in a genuine modern society, one that affords us basic civil liberties that any healthy democracy should sustain. At this point, none of us can guarantee that I can finish my term unscathed. So I do want to call on you, my dear friends in the human rights community, to help us. Help us keep our government accountable for the many crimes that it has committed and could continue to commit against our people. Help us honor the rights and dignity that each of us so deserves. Help us survive. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you have a fruitful discussion ahead.
So our thanks once again to Senator Hontiveros for this powerful video. The Quien de los Santos case to date is, I believe, the one and only in which prosecutions and convictions have been obtained for killings in the Philippine government's drug war. And according to Human Rights Watch, only 12 cases are under investigation. The government itself acknowledges over 6,250 killings in anti-drug operations, and NGOs and the Commission on Human Rights have stated they believe the total is actually greater than 30,000. The killings have continued during the Marcos administration, and since August 31st, I believe the start date of the UN's joint human rights program with the Philippine government, there are 221 of these killings that have been tracked. My last comment before turning things over to Marco and our live speakers is that because we're at the UN and because of what is being discussed tomorrow in the Council, we cannot escape the view that the joint program of UN human rights and the Philippine government, while worthy and important to continue and offering hope for long-term change, has yet to produce substantive improvements to the human rights situation on the ground or to bring further accountability measures. We hope that the Council will adopt strong language on the need for more substantive changes and revisit the possibility of a full UN investigation. We also note the statements of the UN, statements by the UN's Working Group on Arbitrary Detention in both 2018 and 2021, calling for Senator De Lima's release. So I turn it over to Marco Perduca, former senator of Italy and a member of our board of directors. Marco.
Thank you, Dave. Good afternoon, everybody, and apologies for not being with you in Geneva during these very important and crucial meetings concerning the situation in the Philippines before the body of the United Nations that deals with violations of human rights. We have already heard at least 3 levels of violations of human rights. We heard that the administration of justice, the system of administration of justice in the Philippines is not in line with the international obligation with the Republic that has signed and ratified virtually almost all international instruments of human rights. We've heard that there are problems for the opposition within and outside parliament to have their voice heard. That again is a violation of human rights. And we know, because President Duterte decided to, so to speak, unsign and unratify the statute of the International Criminal Court, that there are many, many problems in terms of international cooperation to a certain individual criminal responsibilities for what we believe can be considered or should be considered crimes against humanity. Now, I will have and add perhaps more comments after our next two speakers, because we are running a little late today. But knowing that in this, for instance, is going to be the beginning of a new parliamentary term in Italy, and knowing also that these are the last 12 months within the European Parliament, there would be or there should be actions like those hoped by Senator Risa Hontiveros, not only in the Philippines, but outside of friends, not only of Senator De Lima, but also friends of justice and human rights all over the world, because the Philippines have gone through a very dark period recently in terms of violence and blatant disrespect of human rights. It's important that the United Nations hears and continue to hear about this from the voice of those present, but also from the voices of those that believe that the UN is the place where those concerns should be raised. The next speaker is Vicente De Lima. Vicente, you can turn on your camera, who's brother of Senator Leila de Lima and is connecting from the Philippines. Vicente, we don't see you.
I'm here. I'm Big Boy De Lima.
Wonderful. You have the floor. Thank you for joining us.
Okay. Can you guys hear me clearly?
Perfectly.
Okay, good. So, good day to all those in attendance and viewing this side event for the 51st session of the UN Human Rights Council, held there in the beautiful and peaceful city of Geneva in Switzerland. The organizers have informed me that the title of this side event is Human Rights in the Philippines, the Continuing Detention of Leila de Lima. I have informed my sister about this event, and she told me that I can participate if I wanted to. Of course, I wanted to participate. Firstly, I would like to thank the organizers led by Mr. David Borden of the DRCNet Foundation for the invitation, and also for the diligence to continue their steadfast support for my sister Leila and for human rights in the Philippines in general. Thank you to Senator Risa Hontiveros for bravely holding the fort there in the Philippine Senate. Thank you also to our speakers on this event, especially Father Bert Alejo, who is one of the priests who regularly celebrated Mass for Leila in Camp Crame before the COVID pandemic. It is important, and also thank you to those who are listening. It is important that people listen to the truth, for it is by being listened and shared that the truth can be a sharper and more effective weapon against the darkness. My apologies if you would hear me cough. I do have a cold and cough, but fortunately, my antigen test revealed COVID negative results. This is something I want to share. My sister, Leila Maestrado de Lima, has been unjustly detained for more than 5 years already. Counting the days from February 24, 27 to today, October 4, 2022, it is 2,048 days that Leila has been unjustly deprived of her freedom. Converting it, it is a period of 49,152 hours, or in terms of minutes, 2,949,120 minutes, or even more minute, 176,947,200 seconds that Leila is unjustly detained by the Philippine government inside Camp Crame. For us that is enjoying freedom, there is a saying, and I quote, "Be grateful for every second of every day you get to spend with the people you love." Our time together is short and so very precious. End of quote. Good for us, not unjustly detained. For unlike Leila, we can freely get to spend with the people we love, but not in the case of Leila. She has been unjustly denied this right. Unjustly denied the right to be present at her son's graduation from law school and oath-taking as a lawyer. Unjustly denied the right to be present at the funeral of her only sister-in-law. Unjustly denied the right to visit her aging mother, who misses Leila very much. Unjustly denied the right to be with family and relatives during Christmas, All Souls Day, and Holy Week. And why was she denied this basic right? Why is she unjustly detained? It is because of the existence of an evil down there in our country, which reached its crowning height in recent years. And I'm not referring to COVID. And there are many enablers of this evil that unjustly and virulently persecuted my sister. Why so many enablers? This is because when Leila was the head of the Commission on Human Rights, the Secretary of the Department of Justice, and an elected senator of the Republic of the Philippines, she practiced unfailingly what she preached: justice without fear or favor. Without fear or favor. As head of the CHR, she led the investigation of the extrajudicial killings by the Davao Death Squad in Davao City. A certain local mayor felt publicly humiliated and vowed to get back at my sister. Without fear or favor, as Secretary of the Department of Justice, she pursued the case against a former President of the Republic, leading to its hospital arrest for a number of years. This former president is known for her vindictiveness of Napoleonic proportions. Without fear or favor, during her watch as Secretary of Justice, at least 2 standing senators were detained for charges of corruption. A first, I believe, in Philippine political history. These 2 senators come from politically influential families in our country. Without fear or favor, during her stint as the chairperson of the Senate Committee on Justice, she conducted public hearings to criticize and unmask the growing extrajudicial killings in the country in the name of the fake war on drugs. A hearing designed to help human rights victims. The new president back then vowed to destroy my sister. For doing her job to uphold justice, for doing her best to protect the human rights of the citizens of our country, for doing her public service faithfully, she is rewarded with 5 years of unjust detention and counting. Such is the case of the human rights in the Philippines. Others more learned and more competent speakers can talk to you more about human rights in our country. But in my case, I am just an ordinary tax-paying citizen of our country, and that is my humble perspective. Of course, I am thankful to many, both here in the Philippines and outside the country, that have passionately advocated in behalf of my sister Leila, that have passionately advocated for human rights in the Philippines. There are too many to mention, but given the nature of this event, allow me to thank the following. First, the competent and professional people of the UN Human Rights Council Working Group on Arbitrary Detention for adopting an opinion dated August 24, 2018 that found several categories of arbitrary detention and concluded that, and I quote, Ms. De Lima's political views and convictions are clearly at the center of the present case, and that the authorities have displayed an attitude towards her that can only be characterized as targeted and discriminatory. Indeed, she has been the target of partisan persecution, and there is no explanation for this other than her exercise of the right to express such views and convictions as a human rights defender. End of quote. Said UN Human Rights Council Working Group on Arbitrary Detention recommended to the Philippine government that they immediately release Leila. Such a written opinion by the UN Human Rights Council Working Group on Arbitrary Detention is proof positive that Leila's detention is arbitrary, unjust, and immoral. Such a written opinion was also used in the whereas portion of the U.S. Senate Resolution number 142, which was sponsored by Senator Edward Markey of Massachusetts in April 4, 2019. This is a bipartisan resolution. Two Republicans, Senator Marco Rubio and Senator Marsha Blackburn, and two Democrats, Senator Dick Durbin and Senator Chris Coons, co-sponsored, that condemned the Philippine government for its continuing detention of Leila and called for her immediate release. This Senate resolution eventually had 12 sponsors, co-sponsors, and was passed in the U.S. Senate in January 8, 2020. Which brings me to the second group of people I and my family would like to thank. The lawmakers from many countries like the US, Canada, Malaysia, Australia, and the European Parliament, who have concretely expressed their support for Leila and have called for her immediate release. A group led by Senator Edward Markey and a number of members of the U.S. House of Representatives, Congressman Alan Lowenthal, Congressman John Garamendi, Congressman Don Bayer, and Congresswoman Amata Radewagen, actually visited Leila in Camp Crame during her birthday this August. Our family appreciated Senator Markey's actions, which back up strongly his words of support for Leila. So, if I will be asked, what is a simple request I can make to the UN Human Rights Council? Please continue the good work that you do in truthfully reporting on the human rights conditions in the Philippines, and to back up your words with actions by visiting Leila inside her Camp Crame detention facility soon. Words are good, but actions speak louder than words. In addition, I would like to thank human rights organizations in the Philippines and around the world that have worked steadily in support of Leila. Too many to mention. In closing, allow me to quote from a leader I dearly admired. His name is Robert F. Kennedy, and he delivered this powerful speech in South Africa at the height of apartheid. Here are the words that inspires me. Each time a man stands up for an idea or acts to improve the lot of others or strike against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope. Those ripples build a current that can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance. End of quote. May your words and actions sweep down the walls of Camp Crame soon and free Leila from this most unjust detention. Free Leila now. Maraming salamat po. Diyos mabalos. Thank you very much. God bless.
We thank you very, very much, Vicente De Lima, brother of Leila De Lima. The next time you will have an opportunity to talk to her, please convey our support and voices and commitment to the cause. I think you have made a long list of prominent politicians that are supporting the cause, but also UN people that are in favor of the full respect of universal human rights. And we used to stress universal because they belong to everybody anywhere in the world, despite the type of government they have to live under. The next speaker today is Father Alejo, who teaches at the Pontifical Georgian University in Rome, from where I am connecting today. Father, are you there? Yes, I see a phone.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
the organizers, and thank you for the supporters of Leila. I start with my feelings. It really pains me that while we have wasted a lot of ordinary lives, we are also wasting another best species of being a Filipino in the person of Leila de Lima. And I'm calling on the United Nations Commission on Human Rights to really please help. Gather your energies and forces and influence to really pressure our government, our people, and the international community to free these beautiful, powerful, patriotic, and really just woman who is now in prison. I started knowing Senator De Lima when she was not yet senator, way back when I was in Davao City. Missionary was murdered in southern Mindanao, and she was the head of the Commission on Human Rights. She took it personally to investigate on this murder of this missionary, a friend of mine. And I sensed from that very beginning her sincerity. Later on, when she visited Davao, I was in Davao. When she started investigating on the human rights violations, the extrajudicial killings of the Davao Death Squad, I was there. And she had the courage and the audacity to really investigate. I admired him. Admire. And we saw each other also in the tomb of the victims of the Maguindanao massacre. Later on, we saw each other again and worked together when she was a senator and she opened the investigation on the extrajudicial killings, especially entertaining the story, the witnessing of Edgar Matubato and Arturo Las Cañas, who had a spiritual conversion, admitting that under the command of a master killer, they killed several hundreds. And that crime was expanded in a national scale when that mayor became president. And she had the audacity to open the investigation, but opposed by the fear and the obstinacy of the other senators whose work was to stifle truth. I salute the other senators who supported Leila de Lima, especially Senator Trillanes, and also Senator Risa Hontiveros. But the others were enemies of the truth and allies of the bloody hands of murderous leaders. Now, in this shortcut story, there are two patterns. There's a pattern of a surplus of cruelty, but there is also a pattern of a surplus of faith, which I saw when Senator Leila de Lima was imprisoned, together with other priests like Father Robert and Father Flavi and others. We had masses inside the jail. And I have never seen a person with such faith, deep faith and love of country as Senator Leila de Lima. And so my call is, let's not waste this beautiful life, this beautiful mind, this excellent Filipino spirit. We have wasted a lot of truth. We have wasted a lot of ordinary lives. Let us free, let us liberate this extraordinary woman of faith for the sake of our country. I call upon all the members of the justice system. You are called justices. Be women and men of justice. I call upon the new Commission on Human Rights. When I read the Bill of Rights of our Constitution, I really hold on to your promise to really promote and protect the human rights of our people. I call upon the social movements, the political movements to continue fighting. And I call upon the families of the culprits, the families of those who have blood in their hands, the wives, the children, the mothers. Don't allow your relatives to continue with their bloody hands. I call upon the International Criminal Court, and I thank you for your work. Please continue. We really place a big hope on you. I call upon the new president, be better than the previous president. Challenge. Accept the ICC investigation. Accept and read the report of the United Nations report. But I call also upon my fellow men and women of the church. We are also part of this mess. Let's do our part. Pope Francis, which I always hear because I'm now in Rome, recently published his work, Fratelli Tutti, advocating for a better politics, saying that real love is political love, and political love goes beyond humanitarian work. It needs to restructure our society to make it a better and more just society. And so, let this pain keep me in this fight. But it's not easy, because just yesterday, Percy Lapid, who was a strong advocate for truth and critique of lies, was ambushed. I close now with silence. I hope you feel the pain, but I hope you also, like me, benefit from the deep sense of faith of Leila de Lima. Senator Leila, you will be free because we need you. Amen.
Thank you, Father. We felt the pain, and we also thank you very much for your passionate speech. I think we have another 8 minutes for questions. If there's anybody that would like to participate with questions for our guests, or also with comments, there should be people also present in the room in Geneva. We haven't seen how many though, but we certainly have almost 30 here in this Zoom room.
Let me just make a quick housekeeping note, since we will have to vacate the room promptly within 8 minutes. One, I know timing was tight. I'm not sure if we have the sign-in forms in the room or not, but for those here in person, thank you. And if you're willing to provide your name, affiliation, contact information so that we can follow up later and let you know about more events, we'd be grateful. And you can get that to our people there. And for those, we will be taking questions both in person and on Zoom. And if you're on Zoom, to ask to speak, preferred method, use the raise hand button, which you can find in reactions. And I don't know if we have hands up in the room. We do have one hands up here from Socorro Reyes.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity to ask this question. And thanks, Big Boy and Father Bert, for those very moving statements. I'm Socorro Reyes. I'm with the Free Leila Committee and also from Every Woman, a group organized to support Senator Leila de Lima. My question is for Father Albert PB. It was a moving statement, and I heard you mention your plea to Mr. Marcos to do something about Leila. On our part, for Every Woman, we have written Secretary Remulla, asking him for two things. One, not to oppose the motion for bail. And number two, that he review the case, and if he finds out that there's really not sufficient evidence to dismiss the charges. My question, Father, is this: what do you think are the chances that the new government, that the Marcos government, will go on a different path and soon release Senator De Lima? Because just really, I attend almost all court hearings, and I listen to all these witnesses of the prosecution who are carnappers, hold-uppers, murderers, and they just give, of course, this litany of lies. So what do you think are the chances that this new government will go another way?
I believe, thank you, so you have been very consistent in your fight for Leila. Honestly, I believe that the present administration believes that Leila is innocent. They are waiting for a good alibi to save face for themselves and for the previous administration, who is their friend. But I think it will rely really on popular sentiments. We need to express our rage. But I also call upon, again, on the families of those who are involved. Please, hit your father, your son, your mother. Please, don't cooperate with evil. And I think there will be change. I really, really hope to see Senator Leila de Lima visiting Rome for a pilgrimage soon.
Thank you, Father.
Any questions, further questions or comments online or in person?
Dave?
Yes, Eric Lachica, U.S.
Yes.
Filipinos for Good Government.
Thank you. I'd just like to ask, in light of the visit of Marcos Jr. To the United Nations 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago, and his meeting with President Biden, and if you recall, President Biden mentioned that he would discuss human rights with Marcos Jr. in their private portion of their meeting. I'd like to direct the question to Vincent De Lima, if the U.S. government or the Biden administration and his emissaries like U.S. Ambassador Mary Kay Carlson has communicated the concern of the Biden administration on human rights to Senator De Lima, number one, and number two, does Mr. De Lima believe that he's optimistic that Leila would be freed in the near future? Those are my two questions.
And we have, and sorry, we have just 1.5 minutes before the in-person room anyway has to be vacated. So
I'll try to answer that quite fast. Thank you very much for the question, Mr. La Chica. On the first question, I am not aware of any official communication that the U.S. government or its emissaries or representatives have provided my sister. This is because I have not been able to visit my sister physically, personally, for at least a month. I have been experiencing a cough and cold, so I have not visited Leila for health reasons. But I would imagine, though, that when Senator Ed Markey was able to visit my sister last August, I would imagine that there was communication from the U.S. Senate, being him a senator, to my sister Leila. On the second question as to whether I am optimistic, when I visited Leila in August, she told us, her relatives, to please continue to pray that her situation improves, to continue to pray that justice moves quickly in the Philippines, contrary to what the fake trolls of the Duterte regime has been saying, that it is the defense that has been delaying the proceedings. It is actually the prosecution that have made moves that seem to delay the movement of justice with regards to the case of Leila. So let us pray for a speedy trial, because justice delayed is justice denied. So we would like to see that the proceedings continue quite faster than usual. And if that happens, and as Father Bert Alejo has referred to, then perhaps there could be some good news before Christmas comes this year. That is the message from my sister Leila. So I join her, and I join many of our family and relatives in praying that justice soon be given to my sister, that she be freed immediately. The Philippine government, if it wanted to do so, can immediately free my sister. The Department of Justice, their witnesses, some have recanted, and if they really seriously review the case, then it would be prudent on the part of the head of the Department of Justice to inform his prosecutors to drop the charges against my sister. They are actually wasting taxpayers' money in pursuing a bogus case against my sister. Pity us taxpayers who pay their salaries. Pity us. They're just wasting taxpayers' money in pursuing a case against my sister. Thank you.
So, thank you again to our speakers and to all of you for joining us online and in person. And to respect the UN rules for this, I need to close the meeting now, but full footage from the beginning, those of you who missed the beginning, will be available on our Facebook and YouTube pages immediately or extremely soon. Visit stopthedrugwar.org, and you'll see the links at the upper right. And I'm available. I put my contact information in the chat to help coordinate if that's needed for any media inquiries to our speakers. Thank you very much, and we hope for the freedom of Leila de Lima on the soonest possible day.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.